So we just had some news come out. Another wide receiver move after Davante Adams gets signed by the Los Angeles Rams. The Steelers have traded for DK Metcalf. It came out from Adam Schefter. He said, more Seahawks trades. Seattle is sending two-time Pro Bowl wide receiver DK Metcalf to the Steelers per sources. Seattle now has traded Geno Smith to the Raiders and wide receiver Metcalf to the Steelers. Now here we have the trade compensation. Steelers are sending a second-round draft pick to the Seahawks and flipping picks in the 6th and 7th rounds per sources. And then it came out that the contract that DK Metcalf is getting with the Seahawks is a 5-year, $150 million deal, which makes it $33 million per year, which now makes him the third highest paid receiver in the NFL. So pretty quickly, we're seeing a lot of things go down right now in the NFL. I also saw that Josh Allen got a massive new contract, and so things are moving quickly, and I'm curious to see if anytime soon we'll see the Packers make any kind of moves. And of course, for the Packers, as we were preparing for free agency and what could happen here, potential trades, Davante Adams was one that, we talked about. DK Metcalf, one that we've talked about. And the Packers decide that they seemingly, don't want to trade probably more than what the Steelers are willing to offer. First off, it came out the Seahawks wanted a first and a third, and then it ends up being a second-round pick, which I just touched on it in the video about Davante Adams. I had said how I think a second is reasonable for DK Metcalf, and that's what the Steelers decide they want to trade for DK. So if you're the Packers and you're looking at this situation here, I don't think Brian Gutekunst was ever going to pay DK Metcalf $33 million per year in a 5-year contract. I think that's a little much, if you ask me. Now, you do have to factor in the cap always increasing, and because this is a 5-year deal, he's going to be at $33 million for the next, 5 years, unless he gets another kind of deal before that. And so in the next 2-3 years, receivers will be jumping him, better receivers. But I don't think DK Metcalf is a top 10 receiver. I need to go through my list and see who I put in the top 10, but I feel like he's probably outside of the top 10. And because of that, I think that this would have been too much money to have to pay DK Metcalf, even though the second rounder, I think, is reasonable for DK. $33 million per year, 5-year deal. It's a little much in my opinion. And I think if the Packers were to have done something like this, then they probably wouldn't go out and make a big move at edge rusher, where I feel like that's a much bigger need, if you ask me. Beast Bumblebee, I appreciate your $5 donation. You say, well, there go our options for wide receiver 1. Now all we can do is hope someone on the roster takes a massive step. Yeah, hopefully that some guys do take steps forward. I still think there are other options out there. I think Davante and DK were definitely two of the most intriguing options just from a talent perspective. And the reality is, once again, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. The reality is for the Packers that it would have been, out of the norm for Gutekunst to make a big splash move at receiver. Not that they still can't. I mean, there's still some guys out there. Chris Godwin, it's not quite as great as a signing as a DK, but he's probably cheaper coming off a knee injury, I would assume. But you did wonder, with the reports that the Packers were interested in a veteran, and you look at some of the other, discussions surrounding receivers with Christian Watson injured. It felt like maybe this could be the year the Packers decide to break away from what they typically do at receiver and maybe go after DK, because there have been those reports that the Packers were potentially in conversation with the Seahawks. But as we all know, the Packers are in a lot of conversations, as I imagine a lot of other teams are, and they don't end up with DK Metcalf. I guess if the Packers really wanted DK and they were willing to pay him $33 million per year, they would have had to at least given, a second plus something else, maybe like a second and a fourth, or I guess a first would have gotten DK Metcalf. I would if the news came out the Packers got DK for a first, I wouldn't be that angry. I think it's like a slight overpay. But at the same time, when you have DK Metcalf, who is, I think he's 27, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's 27, so that's why if you're the Steelers, you're going to get DK for the rest of his prime in the NFL. When this deal ends, he'll be 32 if my 27 age is right. I'm pretty sure that's that's a correct age for DK. Let me double check. Yeah, he's 27. He'll be 28 next December. So, other thing that I saw some people pointing out on X was that DK had said he wanted to go to a contender, at least warm weather. I'm pretty sure they were saying he wanted to go to a contender. I can't remember if I had seen that myself, but maybe he said that. He decides to go to Pittsburgh, so definitely not warm weather. But, I assume that if you're the Steelers, you don't make that trade unless you know that he's going to accept that extension. And clearly that extension news came out like minutes after the trade news. So 2 of the biggest receivers out there off the table. At the same time, you never know if there's some receivers out there that there hasn't been any talk about. DK, there had been news, because he wanted to get, traded out of there. You never know if there's some other receiver out there that no one's talking about, some really good receiver that some team just decides to randomly trade. So, not that the Packers, I don't necessarily think the Packers will do that, but we can't say that, no one's going to make a trade, or the Packers still can't trade for a top receiver. Years ago, the Chiefs randomly trade Tyreek Hill. No one saw that coming. So, just because the guys who were sort of the, Devontae was available, you had DK seeking a trade. I mean, there could be some other receiver out there that we're not really looking at right now that could want to be traded. I had seen someone on my videos comment about trading for Tyreek Hill, and I know right after the season it sounded like Tyreek wanted to leave the Dolphins. Then he seemed to apologize, if I remember correctly. But that is interesting to see his initial comments there. So could they do something like that? Someone commented that. It sounded interesting to me. I mean, probably not. And I think that if you look at the Packers' history, they have not been one with Gutekunst to go big on receivers. They have traded away receivers, like trading Devontae for a first and a second round pick. But the kind of receiver moves they have made outside of drafting them have been, Devin Funchess. They signed him at one point. Sammy Watkins. They brought back Randall Cobb because Aaron Rodgers wanted him. They haven't really made any big-time splash moves with Brian Gutekunst at wide receiver. And as I said, if the Packers started 2025 with no new receiver, the Packers would still have a top 10 offense. So I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned that the Packers didn't get DK Metcalf, even though it could have been cool. I think he would have paired nicely with Romeo Doubs, even though some think maybe Doubs would have been included in the trade for DK. I would have liked to see Doubs and DK together. It would be exciting as a Packers fan, of course, to have DK on the team, no doubt. But I'm not concerned. I'm not like, oh no, what are we going to do? We didn't get Devontae or DK. We're toast. No. Maybe this means that the Packers are saving all their money for a edge rusher out there, potentially one of the free agents. Who knows? I got to keep an eye on my notifications to make sure no other moves come out because there have been lots of moves coming out. But let me pull up the free agent wide receivers right now so we take a look. And if there are any other moves, feel free to comment it down below. Sorry, I haven't been reading the comments. I've just been giving my initial thoughts, but I appreciate all you guys who are here. It's going to be an exciting week. So if you want to stay updated with all the Packers news, feel free to subscribe and turn on the notifications. But yeah, if we look at some of the free agent wide receivers, unless they've been signed in the past few minutes or day, and I didn't realize, but you got Stephon Diggs out there. He's 31. You got Keenan Allen out there. He's almost 33. Amari Cooper, 30. Chris Godwin, he's one that could be interesting. 29 years old. Maybe the Buccaneers sign him. There's not a lot of great options out there on the free agent market where you're just like, you know what, this guy is a no-brainer to make this team way better. And so it could just be in the end that, there's Marquise Brown out there still unless someone signed him. But yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, it could have been cool to get Devontae back in Green Bay, but the cost, $23 million per year for Devontae, I just think it's too much. I would have, I feel like if you could have gotten him to take a team-friendly type deal with the Packers to where you get him for $15 million a year, which I guess now in hindsight, I guess that's way too cheap. But I would have been fine with that. But $23 million per year on 2 years, I think that's a little too expensive for Devontae. Sam DeRosa said, let's go all in for Micah Parsons. That would be a very good decision. There had been some stuff floating around today about Micah Parsons. I need to find it so I don't, misquote whatever was said and make sure it was legit. Because sometimes, false reports out there. But yeah, if the Packers could somehow pull end up, trading for Micah Parsons. That would be insanity. They'd have to give away, their entire, every single draft pick for the next couple of years. Not actually, but So let me get to some of these comments here. Higher Coop says the dream was nice. Yeah, it's always fun to dream about, receivers the Packers could target. Even though in the back of my mind, I've gotten pretty used to like toning down my expectations. I would say when I started my channel, I was more expecting like maybe they'll actually do it, and now I feel like I'm more realistic. It would have been exciting, but at the same time, Gutekunst hasn't shown to be one to go after, receivers in big time receivers and make trades for big time receivers. He could always break away and do something new, but so far, but it's only been, today is the first day things have really started to go down in a big way. So we can't really rule out something else happening. Let's see here. Yeah, Pack Hansen says Chris Godwin. He is one that is still out there. But I really wouldn't be surprised if we sign like someone for like a cheap receiver on the free agent market for like $5 million, or draft a receiver in round 2, which the Packers love to do. But I'm really not concerned about the Packers receiver room. I'm not. I know some people are. I'm not concerned, really, honestly. I'm not that concerned. MVS. Yeah, for a deep threat, you could get MVS for a cheap contract. And with Christian Watson out, no doubt that, the Packers need to find that guy who has that deep speed. So, Marquise Brown is really fast. He's not necessarily, he's not tall. Sip the Real says BG is ruined us. How so? Amari Cooper. Yeah, Amari Cooper is 30 years old. He's an option. He's an option. Keenan Allen, I just think it's tough when you get receivers when they start reaching, 32, 33 years old, because you never know like when their production is just going to, fall off a cliff. And I feel like we've seen Brian Gutekunst in the Packers, or especially Gutekunst, is always willing to part with guys maybe a year before people think they should. And so they sort of get out of these contracts before guys completely stop producing at a high level, because that's just the reality of the NFL. You reach a certain age, unfortunately, you're not playing at the same level, and so because of that, it just sort of is what it is. So that's the thing with a lot of these free agent receivers. It's why they're free agents, a lot of them, because they're 30 to 33 years old. There are some guys 28, 29. 305, Mike McGee, I appreciate the donation. You say KC re-signed Brown $11 million, Atwell $10 million, MVS minimum $10 million. Oh, did Kansas City already sign? Did I miss that? Did they already sign Marquise Brown? Oh, that was yesterday. I didn't see that one. I missed that. Okay. Appreciate you pointing that out. I missed that yesterday. So he's gone. 1 year, $11 million. That's the kind of move I feel like Gutekunst is going to make now. That DK's gone. They were supposedly in the conversations. I feel like it wouldn't be shocking at the end of the day if we, signed just like a cheap veteran receiver for $11 million or so. But appreciate the donation. Thanks very much. Oh, I missed this. Here we go. We got Whalers 860 says, I can't believe they want to trade our best receiver Dobbs and keep Christian Watson. Watson clearly is not better than Dobbs. He's wide receiver 3 at best on Green Bay. Well, we don't know that they want to trade Dobbs, because I saw, when we were talking about the reports when it came to I touched on the different reports that had come out. Some were saying that the Packers had been in conversations. Some were saying no. It feels to me like they probably were. Guess I don't know for sure. But if Dobbs was in the conversations, I'm not sure if we know for a fact, unless I have missed something. I don't think we know for a fact that he was in the conversations. But I think if you look at the receiver options to trade, I didn't really love the idea of trading any of them. Jaden Reed, I didn't see the Seahawks trading for him. They already have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is a slot receiver. Actually, Christian Watson made more sense just because of the injury. I think that if you traded for DK, he sort of fills the Christian Watson deep threat role. He can also do more, but I think, I thought DK Metcalf and Romeo Doubs would have been a very nice combo because Doubs is a great route runner. He doesn't have the speed of DK Metcalf, but I think he's like a better route runner than most players in the NFL. But yeah, appreciate the donation. Here we have from Flossie, fighting for 4th this year. At least we have Bo Melton. Yeah, I always love Bo Melton. You are saying 4th in the NFC North? I don't know about that one. I am curious now, though. I have seen some things about, the Vikings and Aaron Rodgers. Let me try to find that tweet. I made a video on it a few weeks ago about, could Aaron Rodgers actually end up finishing the Brett Favre cycle of Packers, Jets, Vikings? And let me find that tweet because Aaron Rodgers, Vikings. I really hope it doesn't happen, but part of me is concerned it could. Where's that tweet? I can't find it right now. I'm not saying it's completely legit, but there is some talk. We'll see in the future. Sorry, let me get some of these more comments here. Let's see here. 305 Mike says Aaron Rodgers will take a minimum to get revenge. A minimum with the Vikings. Julian says, glad we didn't get Devontae back. Didn't want him back in Green Bay. Would you not have wanted him back regardless of the price? Even if the Packers got him for a cheap deal, team-friendly deal, you still wouldn't want Devontae? That would have been fun. Like, if I would have got a notification on my phone that said Packers trade or Packers signed Devontae Adams, like, it would just do something like in my heart that would just, I might even like shed a tear. I don't know if any of you guys feel the same way. Josh says, why the need in wide receiver? Why not edge rushers? I agree with you. I 100% agree that edge rusher is a bigger need than receiver. So maybe the Packers are going to use their money on a edge rusher. That could be what happens. Has there been any other moves since I have... Oh, I think we have an update here. Okay, we have another update on the Packers and DK Metcalf here. From Matt Schneidman, who says this. I'm told the Packers never made an offer to the Seahawks for DK Metcalf, contrary to multiple reports. Brian Gutekunst and John Schneider are good friends from their time in Green Bay, but a deal between the two for Metcalf was never a realistic probability. So, for Matt Schneidman there, he says the Packers never made an offer. So as he mentions, it does go against other reports. So, who knows exactly what the truth is. That's what's tough with some of these reports because there's a lot of time. I mean, sometimes there's conflicting things. But as we know, the Packers are always in a lot of conversations about top players. Hawkins says, eating fried chicken tonight, Luke? Think you like Canes. That's actually crazy that you said that. Right before I actually came in here to film this, I had filmed my Devontae Adams video, went for a walk, was debating what I was going to eat, and Canes was one of the two options. So I haven't had it in weeks, so the fact that you brought that up is pretty crazy. Canes is an option. Chipotle. I love Chipotle. I love Canes. Great fast foods. Yas says, you think Packers should get Diggs? Probably not. Coming off an injury. I mean, the thing with any player out there, it's like it depends on the price. Because like if you get a guy for like insanely cheap, okay. It just depends on like what they're looking for. Because if Diggs was able to, if some player out there was like, hey, I'll take a cheap deal. I want to play with Jordan Love. I'm near the end of my career. I think the Packers have a good shot at a Super Bowl. And they took a team-friendly deal. Then that could change things for a lot of different players. It just depends like how much it's gonna cost. I saw a crazy take in the comments. Where'd it go? I'm losing it. Mike says Chipotle is nasty. I don't even know what to say to that. Don't even know what to say. No comment. Beast Bumblebee. Appreciate the donation once again. Who do we get at edge? No free agent worth big money. Hendrickson would be cool, but someone will offer more. We'll just get some high upside guy. Yeah. I mean, I think if we look to last year, the Packers did make 2 big moves in free agency. Xavier McKinney was one of the top available free agent safeties, and Josh Jacobs was one of the top available running backs. And so Gutekunst is willing to make, big moves, and so that's a good question. In this offseason, what am I trying to say here? My preference was the Packers to make a big swing on an edge rusher, like a Myles Garrett. Unfortunately, today he got a huge deal, like $40 million deal with the Browns, so he didn't really want to get traded or I guess he wanted to get traded from the Browns, but he ended up saying, okay, I'll take $40 million, which I can understand. If they're like, you know what, we want you so bad, we'll give you $40 million. He's like, okay, that'll do. I'll come back now. So I would have liked the Packers, to make a big swing like that. Clearly, that's not possible now. But Hendrickson's still out there, unless any other news has come out. Got to keep an eye on this because things have been happening quickly. But let me pull up the rest of the current available free agents who are currently available. But currently, with Hendrickson still out there, of course, Packers have to, give up a lot, you have to pay him a lot of money, especially with the new deals with Myles Garrett getting $40 million. It's going to be super expensive. So my top priority right now, or my top, the one I would want the most right now, it would be Hendrickson still. Someone else brought up Khalil Mack. Yeah, you can get him for cheaper because how old is Khalil Mack? Is he like 30? He's pretty old in NFL terms. I think he's like 34, 35. Yes, but thanks again for the donation there. How do I get this off of the screen? Okay, there we go. There we go. Let me look at some more comments here. Lime Volcano says, I'm not happy at all. I'm sorry about that. Sorry you're feeling down. Traditional question mark says, I wouldn't mind Cooper Kupp or Lockett. Yeah, I wonder how much money Cooper Kupp wants. That's something I wonder. Higher Cube says MVS cannot be an option. I think he can. I like MVS. He's still a good deep threat. You could get him for cheap. Which, I'm not saying we should pay him a ton of money, but you can get him for cheap. Yeah, Aaron brings up Myles Garrett is off the table. Yes, unfortunately, he is off the table. The angry casual fan says Packers fans call players washed like Melton and Wicks were even better than Lockett and Kupp. Yeah, I really do think that Wicks has a lot of upside still. And I'm excited to watch Dontavian Wicks this season. And it might be that Gutekunst is has the confidence in Wicks to take that step forward, and that's why he doesn't feel the necessity to go out and potentially make a big move at receiver. And I think the one thing that, to keep in mind when we look at his one comment that was pretty telling of what he was thinking. But at the same time, we can't always take every comment from GMs because, they don't. Sometimes they could be trying to steer things a certain way, strategy wise. But he brought up how when you look at some of the best teams or, Super Bowl caliber type teams, lots of times they are not, they don't have a top receiver who's taking a massive amount of targets a lot of the time. And so seeing that quote, it made you, step back and say, will the Packers really make a big move at receiver? I thought it was possible, especially with the rumors of potentially trading for DK Metcalf. And when I saw that, now Matt Schneidman is saying they never made an offer. So differing reports. But when I saw that, I thought, oh, maybe they actually will. Maybe this will be the year. But I think when you look at that Gutekunst quote, it makes you say, okay, he probably, didn't really want to spend that much on a receiver. So anyways. Hawkins, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I appreciate all you guys watching. I don't do a lot of live streams just because I just get out of the habit of it. But I decided I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on the whole DK Metcalf situation. So I've missed I've missed most of the comments here, but I appreciate all you guys commenting here. But yeah, I mean, the Packers could, they'll probably draft a receiver somewhere in the draft. I wonder where it is. We're going to get a lot of answers in the next few days, probably. Making sure there's no other news. No other Packers-related news. Von Miller is available now. The Bills released him, but he's about to turn 36. So that may be a bad idea. But there are a lot. Okay, I'll bring back up to the free agent conversation, which I think, what was it, Bumblebee brought up. I like the idea. If I say one of these guys and they've gotten signed and I missed it somehow, please let me know, because I could have missed something, just like I missed the Marquise Brown yesterday in the midst of all the news. But Chase Young, solid option. Sweat, solid option, unless something happened there. I really wonder what Gutekunst is thinking. If only we could, get him on the phone and ask him. Not that he would tell us, but that would be nice. What are you thinking, Gutekunst? What's your plan? Let us know before you do it. We won't tell anyone else. We'll all keep it. We won't share it. We'll just listen, and that's it. I don't know anymore, says Amari Cooper and Trey Hendrickson. I like Trey Hendrickson. With Myles Garrett unavailable, with Max Crosby unavailable, Trey Hendrickson definitely the top option out there. And I do think if you had to, say before what's most likely the Packers making a big move at edge or receiver, I'd probably say edge. Based on the Packers' past when it comes to not doing big things at receiver in the free agent market. Ben Green says Goody hates veterans. Veteran NFL players. Yeah, I saw some list somewhere there. I was showing it may have been a tweet from Andy Herman potentially, or it was someone else, but it was showing the veteran players the Packers have signed, and lots of them were like 26, 27. I don't know where it is right now, that exact tweet, but yeah, typically, I just think now with the Packers in the spot they're in, where Gutekunst, some of his quotes at the end of the season where he was, basically saying that the Packers are, I'm basically paraphrasing, but that the Packers, really need to go for a championship now. I just wondered if at this point that could change how he operates a little bit, because I think when you move from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, there was sort of that in-between period where they were getting rid of all the old players, making the team super young, and I feel like this year, with where the team is, I feel like Gutekunst is going to make some big swings this week. We'll see. Maybe he doesn't, but I feel like he will. And I feel like he could go outside of his typical process, not like a lot of guys, but he could sign a 30-year-old where he doesn't typically, just because it's a win now type move where you sign a guy to like a 2-year deal. Yeah, like Khalil Mack. That's one that is interesting. He's 34, so that is risky. That's the thing about Khalil Mack. I think it's slightly risky, even though he played really well last year. Will he play really well in his 34-year-old season? Maybe. Probably. Uriel Barnes says, Goody says that he is ready to win now, but his actions say otherwise. Lost it. His opposition to big names and wanting to do it the old-fashioned way will not bring him a championship. I don't know. I like Brian Gutekunst a lot. I think he does a really good job. He hit on Jordan Love when it was very unpopular to make the move. Now, Jordan Love does need to be more consistent. No doubt about that. But I think Gutekunst is a very solid GM. Surprised OJ Simpson's face says, who's left to make a big swing on, bro? There's no one left. There are a lot of players out there. There's still a lot of guys out there. Even Joey Bosa now available. I'm going to pull up Joey Bosa's stats right now because I haven't. Why is it not popping up here? There are a lot of players available. I mean, some of the I guess the hottest, the most talked about guys in relation to the Packers were Devontae and DK Metcalf. And of course, those guys are gone. But I mean, there's still guys out there. Okay, I'm looking at Joey Bosa right now just to take a look here. 29.6 years old, so he'll be 30 next season. Looking at some of his stats, only 200 snaps in 2022, 320 in 2023, 503 last year. 6 sacks in 2024, 7 in 2023, 3 in 2022. So not incredibly productive, but not a ton of snaps there. He's an option. Based on some of those numbers, I'm not sure how expensive it'll be. I'm not sure how many games he missed. He must have missed a lot of games overall, but he's an option. Hawkins says Mack at a 1-year deal. Why not? Yeah, I feel like with Khalil Mack, a 1-year deal is a good idea. I just wonder how much Joey Bosa would cost. That's a question for all these guys. Oops. Because the thing is, the guys with the biggest question marks, you can get steals on them. I mean, just like, back in the day, I think of the acquisition of Rasul Douglas from a practice squad that year, Devondre Campbell, signing him for 1 year, $2 million in that summer, whatever year that was. I lose track of the years, but a few years back. To sign a guy for $2 million and have him be an all-pro player, I mean, that's where a move could look really bad at the moment, and you're not excited about it, and then it ends up panning out. Yeah, because Joey Bosa has missed a ton of games the past few seasons, so that's the thing. If a guy has injury history, you do get a discount, but the problem is they have an injury history. Beast Bumblebee, appreciate the donation once again. Very kind of you. You say Bosa is the Jair of edge rushers. No thanks. Yeah, with the injury history, definitely a little risky. Definitely. So, but at the same time, what does he? What's the contract look like? CJ for the win says he's just a solid GM with a solid team. He's not a championship GM, and this isn't a championship team. Solid, doesn't win championships. I mean, he hasn't won a championship. That is true. I do think that Gutekunst put the Packers in a lot of great spots to win championships, and unfortunately, the Packers with Rodgers and Devontae weren't able to get it done in those years. I'm not sure how much blame. I mean, I guess you can put some blame on Gutekunst, but I mean, getting to where they were. But I think he's a pretty solid GM. He's definitely not a bad GM in my mind. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for this one. I'll be out with a lot of videos this week. I'll be keeping an eye on the news. And so stay tuned for all these Packers moves. We'll see what goes down. Hopefully something exciting. Because it was exciting last year. I think it was the Monday last year where the whole Aaron Jones gets released. I mean, that wasn't very exciting. That was terribly sad. That was shocking and sad. For a split period of time, or a short period of time, we had Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs both on the Packers. That would have been interesting. They signed Xavier McKinney. I think that all happened on that Monday. So, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all you guys watching. Appreciate all you guys supporting the channel and all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys later this week with some more videos.